Revelations. And we've come to chapter 17. And I'll just start reading there. It says, that one of these seven angels who had the seven bowls came to said to me, "Come, I will show you the judgment of the great prostitute who is seated on many waters, with whom the kings of the earth have committed sexual immorality, and with the wine of whose sexual immorality the dwellers on earth have become drunk." And he carried me away in the spirit into a wilderness. And I saw a woman sitting on a scarlet beast that was full of blasphemous names, and had 7 heads and 10 horns. The woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet, and adorned with gold and jewels and pearls, holding in her hand a golden cup full of abominations and the impurities of her sexual immorality. And on her forehead was written a name of mystery, Babylon the Great, mother of prostitutes and of the earth's abominations. And I saw the woman drunk with the blood of the saints, the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. When I saw her, I marveled greatly. But the angel said to me, "Why do you marvel? I will tell you the mystery of the woman and of the beast with 7 heads and 10 horns that carries her. The beast that you saw was and is not and is about to rise from the bottomless pit and go to destruction. And the dwellers of the earth, whose names have not been written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, will marvel to see the beast, because it was and is not and is to come. This calls for a mind of wisdom. The 7 heads are the 7 mountains on which the woman is seated. They are also 7 kings, 5 of whom have fallen. One is, the other has yet to come. When he does come, he must remain only a little while. As for the beast that was and is not, it is an 8th, but it belongs to the 7th, and it goes to destruction. And the 10 horns you saw are 10 kings who have not yet received royal power, but they are to receive authority as kings for 1 hour, together with the beast. These are of one mind, and they hand over their power and authority to the beast. They will make war on the Lamb, and the Lamb will conquer them, for he is the Lord of lords and King of kings. And those with him are called and chosen and faithful. And the angel said to me, "The waters that you saw, where the prostitute is seated, are peoples and multitudes and nations and languages. And the 10 horns that you saw, they and the beast will hate the prostitute, and they will make her desolate and naked, and devour her flesh, and burn her up with fire. For God has put it into their hearts to carry out his purpose, by being of one mind, and handing over their royal power to the beast, until the words of God are fulfilled. And the woman that you saw is the great city that has dominion over the kings of the earth." Scriptures like this are what make people afraid to read the book of Revelation. We can't really take away the mystery of this, because that's the point of why it's written that way. One of the things that always make me laugh when I read this chapter is how the angel explained it, but then he explained it in such a way that it seems like he's not really explaining it. But we'll delve into it, because I think there are a lot of clues to explain what we're looking at here. And I think that also a lot of people have brought a lot of nonsense into this chapter, and that's why I want to bring it in. So let's just start back at the beginning. Why was this book written? It was written to comfort troubled saints. And so when we get to Babylon, how is she described? Babylon, at the end it says, is the great city. What's the great city? Well, in that day it would have been Rome. What's a city? A city is a place that people gather together. It's a community. It's a society. And you got to keep in mind that this city is being described throughout chapter 17, but it's being pictured as this great whore. And I think sometimes when we think about the word whore, in our day and age, we kind of lose the meaning of it because we have such a terrible society. Right? If we lived in a day and age where most people got married and most of the people who got married were virgins, we would think about the whore, and the whore would be like, man, that's a terrible word to use. But nowadays, most people are whores. So it's really hard for us to relate to this. And the truth of the matter is that when you look at it, you sometimes, maybe you got to put it in your era. Yeah, maybe in the Bible days it was horror. Maybe in the 80s it was the Hollywood socialite. Maybe in the 90s and the 2000s it was a stripper. Maybe now it's Cardi B. But the point is that this is a lady who is known for her sexuality. That's what she's known for. And she's also described as a city. So what is Babylon? What is Babylon? Seated on many waters. Many people come to her. Well, there's a few ways that you could think of it. Babylon is this world's culture that celebrates immorality and lust. But it's more than just a culture, it is an economy that is built off of celebrating sin. And you might be like, well, Brian, I don't really get what that meant. Well, what's most of the internet? Who makes the most money on the internet? Pornographic companies do. What sells? Don't tell me food. Sex sells. If you were going to put it in today's term, Babylon would definitely be a porn star. She is one who entices all of the kings. What does she entice them to do? Now you may say, well, she entices her to have sex with her, but I think it's more than that. She entices them to be engaged in any form of sexuality and to celebrate that. It's the mentality of, I'm going to sin and I'm going to celebrate it too. Every time that you say, what stays in Vegas, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, that's a little bit of Babylon. Right there. Las Vegas could be considered a form of Babylon. What went on in Rome? I think we don't talk about this enough as Christians, maybe because we got two clean minds. But you got to think about the fact that the emperor had a wife. And she was a little bit lustful. So you know what she did? She joined a whorehouse. And regular people just go into the whorehouse and there will be the empress in there. And that's what she did. That's how messed up that city was. And the king was okay with that. And you can read articles now about people saying, I'm okay with my girlfriend sleep with other men. That's messed up. But who would celebrate that being messed up? Now you might say, man, we far away from that, except when is Pride Month? We have a Pride Month. We have a transgender movement where we celebrate people who are so twisted that they can't tell whether they're man or women. And we celebrate their twistedness. We have a society that celebrates a man looking at another man. And we can make jokes about it, but at the end of the day, it is perversion. It's perverted. It's messed up. It's crazy to me that we could look at a socket and say, that's a female socket, and this is a male socket. And they go together, but we can't figure it out with human bodies. That's how messed up as a society we are. And somebody celebrates that. We go past that where we celebrate the breaking of male and female roles. Where we got movies out. And it may seem harmless to you, but it's not harmless to me. We got a story where you got all these female superheroes and they beating up all these men. Every man in the movie is stupid. Every time you turn on TV, who's the dumbest character in the family? It's the dad, right? How dumb men are. We don't need male leadership. What do you think male leadership being questioned leads to? Who's our leader in the church? It's not Mary. It's Jesus. But you see, we have a society that's built towards Babylon. What does Babylon like to do? Babylon doesn't want to be judged. Babylon does not want to be judged. So what is she drunk on? What is she drunk on?
Her own ideas.
What'd you say?
Her own ideas, her own desires.
Is that all? I think it's worse than that. What is she drunk on in verse 6?
Other people's too.
She is drunk with the blood of the saints. Okay. What would happen to you if you were in the middle of a gay pride parade and you say, you know what, this is sin? All right? And let's say somebody hit you with a car while you did that. What would the comments on Facebook be? Positive. I mean, I hate to see violence, but they got him. He deserved to be out of there, right? They celebrate bad things happening to people who stand for judgment. And it's going to get worse, not better. It's going to get worse. But what's the problem with Babylon? The problem with Babylon is that it's so evil it can't support itself. You see, if you're a feminist, you may say you stand for sexual liberation, but at the end of the day, you start to hate men. And how much sex are you having with people that you hate? And if you're a feminist, you dang for sure can't stand for somebody that's transgender that was a man yesterday, and now they're saying they're a woman. Now they think they deserve women's rights. And then you got it, women's rights for your sexual freedom, but now somebody else is a lesbian right next to you. Who's the real woman? And a lesbian is saying, I'm more of a woman than you because I love women. And a transgender person is saying, I'm better than you because I used to be a woman. And so they all at war with each other. How does that movement sustain itself?
Yes.
Let's think of it another way. What organization can stand if everybody in it is a liar? Even the mafia needs somebody to tell the mob boss the truth. They may lie to the FBI, but they have a code within themselves to at least tell the truth within their organization, right? They may say, don't rat us out, but tell us what happened. In other words, evil can become so evil that it cannot stand on its own. What happens? Satan's kingdom destroys itself. And that's what happens to evil. Ultimately, that's what it does. To me, it's just like what happens at our schools. Somebody becomes an atheist. They start to hate themselves. And then they go to school and they decide to shoot everybody else. But at the end of the day, when they done shooting everybody else, who do they shoot? They kill themselves. They destroy themselves. That is the nature of evil. It is self-destructive. And there's only one way to conquer that kind of evil. That's the Lamb. It says they will make war on the Lamb, for the Lamb will conquer them, for he is the Lord of lords and King of kings. And those who are with him are called. He knows you by name. Chosen, he chose you. And faithful. And you may think that's a credit to you. We were talking about that in a leadership meeting. If God didn't put faithfulness in you, there's no amount of effort that can bring it out of you if it doesn't exist. So Babylon falls because Babylon could never stand. So sometimes when we look at this world, we see a messed up system. And I get it. I see it too. And sometimes it may feel hopeless. But I'm telling you that the tower that the world is built on is a leaning tower. And the higher they build, the worse it'll be when it falls. So don't despair when you see the world, because their fate is set. It said the beast was, is, and is to come, but he came out of the bottomless pit, and he's going right back. And that's the fate of all evil people, amen? Mother, what is on your heart?